Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. My name is Zen.
And I'm La-Vaune, and this is
Let's Talk.
Today on our program, we're talking to two wonderful friends of mine that I've known for so many years. And they happen to be an interracial couple. And I'm so happy to have Kurt and Jacinta on the show today with us. Welcome.
You're welcome. Let me just ask immediately the first question what everybody is always asking.
Yes.
How did you guys meet?
This is a question for Kurt.
A question for me. Well, I keep it to the short version.
Okay.
Yeah, ladies, it's
Yes, we'd like to hear it.
a long time ago. I met her at a house of friends where she was staying at the time. We met for just a couple of minutes, and then I more or less thought, okay, that's it. And then years later, we met again at the same place because it was in The Hague at a jazz festival. And we had a long talk, and then I asked her, well, you've been in Holland for a while, because it was in Holland, The Hague.
Yes.
I said, yeah, but have you been around? And she hadn't seen so much, and I lived all the way up north from The Hague in Groningen. And I asked her, have you been there? No. I said, well, when you want, come and visit me. So this meeting was in June, July, and then in December, just before Christmas, I got a phone call. Yeah, it's me.
Jacinta.
Like 6 months further down the road? Wow.
6 months further down the road, and it's me. And I thought,
Who's
who
this?
is
Me
this?
who?
It's kind of familiar, but fortunately it came back, and since then,
Yes, and
came
that
to
was,
visit me.
what year was that again?
1994.
1994.
Way back.
Wow. And then Jacinta, what happened?
Kurt gave the short version. We met when I was 17. I remember at that time there was a lot of break-ins in The Hague.
Okay.
And it so happened that our house was broken into a few times. So this week we kept locking the door because before, everyone would have their own key. But one person didn't have a key, so we would leave the door open. No one knew anyway. But this time we had the doors locked.
Okay.
And then I heard someone ring the door, and I ran downstairs, and he was standing there. So I opened the door, I saw this person, I slammed the door in his face. And I ran upstairs, and I said to to the lady of the house, I said, Marijke, there's a strange person standing in front of the door, so he could be one of the thieves. She said, oh my God.
Thieves ring doorbells.
She said, I'm 17, you're new in the country, you don't take risks.
Yeah.
So she said, "Oh my God, go and open the door. It's Kurt." So I ran back downstairs, and he said he was laughing. He was amused because he's like, I knew she would be back. So he said he started to flirt. He's like, "What's your name?" I'm Jacinta. Oh, beautiful girl, beautiful name.
Wow.
I didn't forget it. Obviously, it made an impression.
Yes.
And then years later is when we met for the second time because he got my bed. There was the North Sea Jazz Festival not too far away.
Yes.
And I told him, please reserve a bed for me. But I had become so close to them that I wasn't a guest anymore.
Okay, good.
And he called after me, and they gave Kurt the bed that I was supposed to have. So I'm like, how could he get my bed? She said, well, you're not a guest. He's a guest. So he got my, like, okay, we will just accept it. And then we spoke about religion. We spoke about my belief in God, and he said, well, he doesn't have a belief. So that was the second meeting, and I think that meeting sealed
the deal.
Sealed the deal.
Sealed the deal.
Sealed the deal.
And what was your family reaction? I mean, you introducing this white man to your family. How was that reaction? Because I'm going to ask you that same question, Kurt.
My family's reaction, well, we grew up really open to everyone. I never had parents who spoke about race. Never heard it in the house. My mother had her bakery. on Stacia, and she would be one of the only bakeries that would really focus on the dark brown breads. So you would get a lot of the Europeans coming to our place. And she was so social. She was president of the Historical Foundation at the time, and you would always have the Americans coming, and they would be part of the foundation with her. So we would have the dinners. So I grew up being very multicultural and very international, just from a child.
Right.
So when I came with Koert, she had already seen a few boyfriends and stuff before that anyway. So, well, this is another one. Let's see how long this one will last.
Yes.
And it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal. She was just more hoping that I would behave myself and
keep this one.
And I wouldn't
make this one keep
make this one work.
Yeah.
But and you're young, and my mother's a person, thank God for that. She gave us the benefit of the doubt.
And Koert, how was that?
Yeah.
How was that for you? Introducing Jacinta to your family.
My family. Well, it wasn't the first girlfriend I brought home,
Right.
so that would have been different, I think.
Okay.
But no, it wasn't a big deal either. My parents are very open-minded. My brothers too, and my sisters. One sister I have. And no, they were okay with it, and were impressed.
Yeah.
They thought, well, how did he land such a beautiful girl?
Because normally you would think that parents would be in a shock, but okay, but you know,
Well,
different culture, different, and then
culture is something else. But that's when we talk about racial issues. There's only one race, a human race.
Yeah.
Everything else is skin color, is culture.
Right.
And that's a much bigger difference than, and it's not really related to skin color than culture. And that's, but I didn't react like, oh, what are you going to do? Do you know about the problems that will be there? No.
So there was no big challenges that
and
you
my
had.
My parents also are more or less, were international. They worked in Africa for many years.
Wonderful.
But before I was born, so I
So
didn't
they
get
were already
any
exposed to.
taste for African.
watch the looks, watch the looks.
Look at her face.
She's looking at you like, oh, boy, okay.
There was actually a funny story because I was at his place,
Yeah.
and his mom called, and she's known to talk a lot.
Yes.
She's known to talk a lot. So it runs in the family.
Oh, yes, we know.
We all have it.
We know Koert loves to talk.
It's so funny that she called, and she was on the recording machine because we didn't pick up.
Okay.
So we are listening to her, and Koert, I thought he was very disrespectful because his mother would be talking, he would put the phone down and he would do his stuff, and he would come back and say, yeah, mama. And then he would go back and do his stuff and say, yeah, mama.
Naughty.
This time she's recording, and then she started to talk about me. And I'm there. She doesn't know I'm there because of course no one is home. He didn't pick up the phone.
Right.
So she starts talking about me, and she says, oh, and Koert, and you brought the lady home. What a nice lady. And Koert is like, what is she going to say about my girlfriend?
Right.
And she was
You're
such a
on
nice,
edge. Yeah.
He's on edge, and he's like, oh my God, what's my mother going? Oh, is my mother going to embarrass me now?
Bust the bottle.
Yes, but she was very positive. She said, what a nice girl, and she was so friendly, and she made such a good impression on me.
Yeah.
And, oh, she's studying music. She's going to be a singer. Oh, that is going to be a good Ann Wins. Koert will have to translate Ann Wins for me in
Asset.
That would be a great
You'll be a great asset.
to the family. I'm like, asset to the family. Anyway,
You won't be poverty stricken, in other words.
Not in that
and
sense.
I could see him being relieved as she continued to talk about something else, and then in the end, when she gave up.
Yeah.
But that was funny.
Yeah, she had 1 minute to
So
finish the
I mean,
message.
behind my back, she just said something very
Yes.
positive about me.
But I'm very glad to hear that it was very, very positive, that from beginning of on it was positive. And but do you guys have any children?
Yes, we have 2 children.
Yeah.
We have a boy and a girl.
Okay, and how old? If may I?
The boy is 14 and the girl is 8.
Okay, and let's talk about the children. I mean,
In terms of how they experience, if anyone would talk to them about their parents being interracial or any friends in school. You drop them off and they see a white man and a black woman. Is like, is that mommy and daddy or?
was it ever a big deal for them?
Yeah.
A big deal? No, not that way. But of course they get questions like, is that your daddy? Because they're, of course, not as light as I am.
No.
And yeah, so then they say, yes, it's my father. So
Yeah.
that's
Just
clear.
interested.
Yeah, it's just interested. I
Yeah.
don't think they have a big issue with it.
No. No.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. You know, children get to know. They start to get to know themselves, and they would ask questions like, "Daddy is like that, and you are like that," and
Right.
but it's not. And I noticed the boy has it more now that he's a teen, that he is starting to get busy with his identity, and
Yeah.
then he's curious about
Yeah.
Holland and the life in
Right.
Holland,
Yeah.
and he's curious about my life and how things were when I was growing up. And he would talk about, he said, oh, I'm just in between you two. I'm not as dark as mommy, and I'm not
Right.
as light as daddy. But what I notice when I'm with her,
Yeah.
because I'm mostly with her, I would see people, even though we were at town, I would see people look at her and look at me and look at her and look at me, and they would say, is this
Her
Yeah.
child?
is this your
Yeah.
child? And I'm saying, yes, it's my child. And then
Yeah.
they would, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm in a store one time, and we were at the mall, and Kurt was with our son,
Yeah.
who's almost just as tall, and he's starting to look
he's
like a
getting
man.
so tall. My goodness me. I almost didn't recognize it. I'm like, Matai, that's you. It was amazing to see him after so many years, just growing. And then Merubia, the character.
Oh yeah, she's definitely the character. She is a character.
She's the character.
But I remember the lady saying, "Wow, he looks just like his dad." I'm thinking he does. She says, "Yeah, he looks. I could see in his form and the way
Yeah.
he's shaped and everything. He's a lot like his father." What I think, actually, when you asked me about this interview, La-Vaune, I thought
Yeah.
interracial
Yeah.
wouldn't last long. It would be a 5-second interview, because when you're living with a person,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it doesn't. You don't know. It
don't
doesn't
know
matter.
different.
It
You don't
doesn't
see
matter
it.
because
That's
you
true.
just
Right.
have to.
Because in my eyes, you know, I don't see it. I'm like, oh, there comes Court. Oh, there
Right.
comes Jacinta.
Right.
But there was never a thought of,
Right.
oh, there comes Jacinta and Court, the white and black couple, that kind of way. That never dawned. I mean, I never thought. It's just my friends.
No, but
You
it is there within the culture here in St. Martin.
Yeah.
That you are approached as a specimen of that group.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And your skin color is linked to a certain prototype, like
Correct.
you are this, since you're male, since you're white, you are like this.
Yeah.
And the same way around, when we were in Holland, which is predominantly white,
Correct.
they look at her, so you're a girl, you're black, so you're like this.
Wow.
And if you don't speak Dutch or anything else, they add something else to it.
Correct.
And that's really, but that's just like the observation, and it isn't like more in culture than there's really a difference. When I look at characters, it's not like with Jacinta there is something like, because she's black, she's like this. No, because she's Jacinta, she's like
Correct.
this.
Yeah.
And her skin color has very little to do with her behavior.
Yeah.
That's.
But then
And you have that awareness, and you know that. But what stuns me always is that a lot of people don't.
Yeah, but really, because how was it for you when you were out publicly? I mean, what was that experience from
Exactly.
the 90s to now? Like,
Well,
have you seen a
there's
big
of course
change in it?
a big difference between the 90s. That's one thing, but it's also between the culture in Europe
Yes,
and moving to the Caribbean.
correct.
From a country, an environment where most of the people are like me, and I'm part of that culture.
Correct.
And then I moved with my wife to a culture where I'm the stranger, and that made, for me, it was a very interesting experience. Still is, because it's you have to renew yourself and you have to put question marks with your own culture, your own background, and that's. Well, it makes you grow. It makes you become more aware of things.
Yeah.
Probably similar to what we experienced when we moved to Holland too. That
Yeah.
we too
Yeah.
have to
Yeah.
adjust. And
Yeah.
am I saying the right thing? Am I behaving the correct way? Am I, you have to get to speak the language. For me, I think the biggest challenge was just marrying a man.
Yeah.
That was your challenge. That was a challenge. Get the white
That
and the
was your
interracial.
My challenge is marrying the man. I think I'm honestly,
Getting to that point.
putting all jokes aside, I think it was more of a challenge with the genders
Right.
than with race.
Yeah.
I think, and
Why was it a challenge for you?
because I just think a lot of men. I think men in every culture.
Right.
I think if you find one somewhere in the bush of New Zealand or New
Timbuktu.
Guinea.
Yeah.
I think he would more
Mars
resemble
and Venus.
Kurt.
Mars and Venus.
He would more resemble Kurt than I would resemble Kurt.
Right.
You know, I just feel that they share, males share a lot of the same things.
They do.
So I think that was probably the biggest thing. But coming back to race, we did experience racial.
And that's what I
We
really
did
wanted to know,
experience
yeah.
racial discrimination in
there are a
Holland.
few things. Like I said, Jacinta wasn't my first girl I dated.
Black
So-
girl, first.
not-
She wasn't the first black girl.
No, she was the first girl.
Okay.
And I dated other girls before. And with no black girls.
Correct.
And so one of the things, we went out to have dinner somewhere in a restaurant, actually a restaurant of a cultural institution. So you think people, the mainstream in the 90s is in Holland, well, we are multicultural,
Right.
we celebrate diversity.
Yeah, we do.
And we are there and we sit there for 50 minutes. And we see that everybody else is served, but not us.
Okay.
And then I try to signal the people and they ignore us. And one
Okay.
says, yeah, in a minute, and nothing happens. So after about 3/4 of an hour,
3/4.
I went over to the counter, to the bar, and asked for cutlery, because before we went into the restaurant, we had bought some food somewhere else to take home and eat
Yeah.
at home. And we were there just for drink and something small to eat. And I put our food on the table and we ate. And then I saw all the personnel flock to the bar and whisper, and the biggest boy was sent over to us.
Yeah.
And he came talking down on us.
Mag niet
literally.
eten.
Yeah, it's not allowed, and you have to finish, you have to get out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just said, well, since you didn't serve us, can I talk to your manager?
Yes.
So the manager came, a woman in this case, and she started to explain that no, it wasn't, and it didn't have anything to do with her or with me. No, it's. I said, well, it's a bit strange because I've been to restaurants before, and this is the first time I've been ignored.
Yeah.
And I can't. It's not like we are dressed in the wrong way or anything else.
Yeah.
So I said, no, but you have to go. You can't eat your own food here. I said, well, you know what? When we're finished, we leave. And if you want to have it other way, you call the police.
Wow.
Because I'm not-
Wow.
And I think the same
Wow.
happened here too. I'm not going to call the hotel's name, but I know Kurt would go with the kids to a certain hotel to swim with the children.
Correct.
I already said the children, but anyway.
It's fine.
And he wouldn't have a problem. He wouldn't have a problem. And this would go on for years. And the first time I went to this hotel, it's an upscale hotel,
Okay.
with him. They went before me and I came after and I just sat with them, and for the first time I think he was ever approached by the manager here in St. Martin
And ask.
and asked, what are you doing here? Are you a guest? And I'm thinking, and I told her, I said, you know, this is very strange that they are coming here all the time and they would not be questioned. And coincidentally, I'm here with them.
Right.
And now, all of a sudden, I can't be a guest. And I'm not saying that there's no colored guests at the but it's like I made it more obvious that I'm not a guest. I'm walking with him the other day. This just happened last week. And someone would pass and I said, good morning. He said, good morning. And then he passed and then the person said, good morning, sir. And I smiled. You know, those things don't bother me anymore. But I'm thinking, it wasn't good morning, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good morning, sir.
But it was good morning,
Right.
sir.
Is that
for
is
him.
that a gender thing, you think, or is it a race thing? Because I know sometimes you have that tendency with gender, you know, the male gender, you would have
I think it's a
people-
gender and a race
I was
thing.
just
Both.
about this. I think it's both. I think
Okay.
it's
Yes.
both. I think that people
Yeah.
tend to have a certain amount of respect.
Yeah.
I remember working on the business that I share with my mother, and I was really working hard and I built it up and I really worked hard. I did most of the work myself because he was teaching and this was my activity. And this young man came up to me. He said, "Oh, it's because you have a European husband that you managed to get this done."
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was waiting to happen.
Oh,
Yeah, I was
really?
waiting for that one.
And I'm thinking, my European husband, have you seen him around? I am the one doing this, but
Yeah.
it's as if I cannot give
Yeah.
I cannot give you the credit. You only have the success because of the European husband. So the problems are not between us so
No,
much
it's-
as
it's-
how the
yeah.
community looks and views race.
But when you have these experiences, unfortunately, because I think it's really, really, really sad, how do you guys feel? What are the emotions that you experience, or how do you deal with it? Do you feel anything, or do you like just brush it off?
To be honest with you, I feel very sad. I feel very sad. I really don't want to take too much of the time to speak, but we are in a situation right now as we speak.
Yeah.
Right.
I also don't want to
No.
change this into something political, but
No.
we are having an issue on St. Eustatius right now that I'm very active in the group to have a referendum.
Correct.
Because,
spoke about
because
that.
they are stating that the Antillean government totally failed. Well, the experience that I am having, because the Antillean government failed, the Dutch have to take over the 3 islands, St. Martin is country, Curaçao is country.
Right.
But I am saying, to me, the Antillean government they had their weaknesses. But the experience that I had under the Antillean government is a better experience that I am now having under the Dutch government.
Okay.
Much,
Yes.
much, much better.
Yeah.
And we
Yes,
can...
a lot
it's-
has changed. Really, a lot of
yes,
people.
but we can prove it.
Yeah.
But what is happening, because people are just so conditioned to believe that the European way is the best way, that even though there's proof that things are not better, they're even worse, it's like it's something you cannot shake from the people. So how does it make me feel?
Yeah.
It makes me feel very sad, because I feel like if we have the identical same talents, I still have to prove myself twice over
Yeah.
for people and my own people to respect
Absolutely.
me the same way.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to prove himself, in my opinion, as much. He's already there.
Right.
He steps into the store and he's not the thief.
Yeah.
He steps into the shop and he's the one with the money. Now
Yeah.
I'm the one carrying the purse, you know. I'm the one managing.
She's the one counting for it.
I am the one managing our finances, you know.
Yeah.
But automatically, all the attention
Like we
goes-
women do.
Yeah.
like us girls
We
do.
gotta do
Yeah, we hold the wallet.
But automatically, all the
Yeah, but
attention
what's the deal?
goes to him.
You don't want to go to the supermarket. Don't
Well,
worry.
no, I go to the
He goes-
supermarket.
Oh, I know. We always meet there.
That's not a problem.
We
but-
always meet there.
He buys 2 chewing gum and he spends $50 with it too. So I prefer
I don't buy chewing gum. I hate chewing gum.
Also, yeah.
Anyway, we get the point.
Yeah, we get a point.
So that's the issue that I am having if we're going to discuss race. That we are just not respected. If I think at the conservatorium we were being black singers.
We
it was
were
like-
we were. I was the only black classical singer then in my department.
Jesse Norman second.
Yeah, yes. They were always at my shows. Thank God for that. And I was always at Jacinta's shows. You know, so it was. It was the 90s. You know, and it was a different experience. So. But what is the advantages? What would you say is the advantages of being in an interracial relationship?
Well, like I already stated, a more multicultural relationship is that you grow yourself, you get a more insight in how things work.
Yeah.
And what Jacinta just mentioned about the unfriendly takeover since 10-10-10,
Yeah.
it shows much more that things are not as they are generally seen. There's a lot of things behind it, and the stereotypes are mostly false.
Yeah.
Like what they say, that the Dutch know what to do and they are more experienced. And to my experience, the Dutch I have met in St. Eustatius, they are very opinionated. They think, oh, we know what to do here, whereas they were
Ravenous.
unprepared, and not
Yeah.
very well. And still they have an attitude like, hey, you should be thankful. And that's something which I noticed that I've become more able to look through the eyes of somebody else,
Yes.
like through Jacinta's eyes.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
Yeah.
Like Jacinta probably experienced things likewise when we were still in Holland, but right now we spend more of our time in the Caribbean than we lived in Holland.
Yeah.
So that makes it a bit different. And when you say, you already mentioned before, between 1990s and now, I don't think there's such a big difference. There's the difference is more between the two, for us, between the two continents, between being in Europe and being in around here.
Yeah.
That's a bigger difference than in time. I don't think so many things changed. And also since we came here, the big change in the Antilles, in the whole thing. Before that, I could just move between St. Martin and Anastasia and all the other neighboring islands without too much trouble.
Right.
And it's,
Now it's,
everybody knows one another when I come in. And now I see there, I'm treated as if I'm a stranger.
Yeah.
Now, to me, I'm of course still a bit of a stranger around here because I live for just 10 years, 15 years around here.
Yeah.
So,
Long time.
but
Been here a long time.
people like Jacinta and like you who are born here,
Yeah.
they are given the same treatment, which must really hurt
Yeah.
when you come back to your island where you were born,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
then you are being treated as if,
Yeah.
well, where you come from, what do you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
And
Well, what we're going to do is, because this is really a discussion that I think you need to come back again, or we should continue this discussion again, because I mean, you're my dear friends, and I love you all so much for doing this, for really talking and being open about interracial relationships.
That's
So
quite interesting. Yeah.
why don't we just say that we will invite them back again?
I think we should.
Yes, and that
What
we
do you
can
say?
continue this
Yeah.
discussion.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yes?
Yes.
All right. Well, viewers, we thank you so much, and please tune in again next week, and we'll continue this wonderful discussion. We'd like to thank Kurt and Jacinta for being here with us,
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
and we
Thank
hope
you
to
for
see you back
inviting us.
again. Yes.
Okay.
So,
Enjoy. This has been Let's Talk with La-Vaune.
and then,
Ta-ta.
see you next week.